Our next storyteller does work very similar to me, except does it better, more mellifluously, and perfectly in 2 different languages. From Holyoke Media and beyond, please welcome Iohann Rashi Vega.
When I was a child, I was fascinated by the magic of radio. And I remember my brother and I, we used to play with a reel-to-reel recorder, making our own radio shows. A whole spectacle, because it was interviews and comedy sketches and music performances, the old school way. And this is because I used to be part of a music ensemble for children at the National School of Music back in Mexico City. So we were often invited to participate in radio broadcastings and TV shows. So I was used to be in those places, and I fell in love with it. I was just thinking, I want to be in that place. I want to be behind the microphone. I want to have my own radio show, which eventually I did. And when that happened, I was having my own music radio show, and it was perfect. Being able to share music with people and talk about new music and interviewing artists. Actually, that's when I realized I needed to be careful with how I did that, because I didn't want it to show myself as a newbie or as an amateur, all of a sudden interviewing an artist, and it happened a couple of times, a couple of artists that I'm a fan of and about to geek out like, oh my God, I love you. Oh. No, you cannot do that. Maybe later, not now. Thankfully, the journalism classes taught me that I need to learn about those boundaries and to keep objective. It was really helpful because that actually became part of what later made me into the work that I'm doing today. So in 1999, I moved from Mexico to Puerto Rico, and after going from volunteer to producer, I actually became the news anchor at the public radio station there, WRTU. And with that, I had the responsibility of keep informed the community. So I had to interview people from all different walks of life, and all type of hard news and all type of stories. And I always tried to make sure that I included some of them that were heartwarming, because we don't get to see that many of them in mainstream media. From there, then in 2011, I came here to Massachusetts, and I started my own media platform, Radio Plasma, focused on storytelling and interviewing people in a really micro-local journalism approach focused on social justice, arts and culture. The pandemic came, and then all of a sudden, it was a need for information that was nowhere available, if you remember, at the beginning. So for me, the pandemic time was a blur, because the only thing that I remember was I need to keep people informed in both English and Spanish, Inglés y Español. So when the pandemic kind of gave us a break around 2022, I got the opportunity of being invited to participate into a project by the Food Policy Council of Hampshire County, which I know some of you are over here. Thank you for being here. That was an amazing experience, because it was about collecting stories from people here in the Valley about their experiences related to food access during the pandemic. So we prepared for that, we trained, and at first we were going to do it in specific spots, but we ended up actually going to their homes, to their places. So I remember for almost a whole year, especially during the weekends, coming here to Northampton, going to Florence, going to Southampton, to Williamsburg, to Chesterfield, to meet people at their places. And always keeping in mind that journalistic approach, making sure that, yes, there is empathy and there is a connection, but those boundaries need to be always present. That's until I met Nan. Nan is a 95-year-old matriarch, beloved in her community in Chesterfield. And being at her home was something magical. Interestingly enough, when the conversation started, the first thing she shared was, I had no struggles with food access because, fortunately for me, my family and my community took care of that. Maybe that was the whole story then. But we kept going. And then she shared how important it was for her to actually find out how to stay connected, how to connect with the community, because she was missing so much that interaction with her community, particularly from church. And all the ways that they figure out how to do that, not only for her community, but also her family, from around and from afar. As I was hearing that, I began to think about my mom. And this is because she just turned 80 this past September. And in 2019, we lost my brother and my dad, just with months of difference. So I was so worried about her during the pandemic, because imagine losing your son and losing your partner for over 49 years together, and then being in the pandemic all by yourself. And seeing how Nan's story and my mom's energy were on the same level of holding on to life, I was shaking as I was listening to the interview. The cat, actually, her cat was around me, kind of like giving me that peace. And when everything finished and I pressed the stop button and I knew everything on the purpose of the work done was completed, I did something. I spoke up and I told Nan, thank you for welcoming us here. Thank you for this beautiful story, because it moved me. It made me reassess the value of us being together, because food is something that is necessary for all of us, but it's not enough. We hugged, we concluded that experience, and on my way back to Holyoke, I called my mom. And while I wanted to tell the whole experience, I just asked her, ¿Cómo estás, mamá? ¿Cómo te sientes? How are you, mom? How are you feeling? And I was just listening to her, feeling that same energy that Nan just gave me a few minutes ago. And that is one of 24 stories that we got to compile for this project with the Food Policy Council. By the way, check it out, because these stories are important and are from our people here in the Valley. With that, now I know that every time I am about to eat something, I get to think about those ingredients, where this food is coming from, about the farmers who make this possible, about the people who work on the distribution. So now every time I take a bite of anything that I am eating, I am thinking about all of these stories that we got to compile. We are now in a different type of pandemic. And once again, it's scary, uncertain. And once again, I know I have to put my mind on being professional. But thanks to this experience, now I know that while I need to be objective, I can allow myself to my emotions be present as well. Because it's important for us to know that food feeds our bodies, but stories and music connects us all. And my way to keep the balance for these moments of uncertainty, it is that I came back to my first love, music. And now, I've been for the past year sharing with the public one song at a day based on the mood, based on the date itself, its meaning. And it's been a beautiful experience to go back to the way I started. So it's that connection that music and stories gives us. And actually, today I posted a song that it found me. And of 4 titles, I want to share it with you. in the way I will do it on the air. Today is February 8, 2025, and today sounds like Field Note by Old City from the album Coco Moon, released in 2023. I'm Iohann Vega. Thank you for listening.